Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Homefront Harmony. I am your host, Stevie Dahl. We are so excited you have joined us today. We keep evolving the program and trying to get to talk to people that can blend more into our military community. I tell you how small it is and how much of a family it is. So we had Omar Foster on here. Then we had his beautiful wife, Abby, on here. And then Abby said, hey, you need to talk to my dad because her dad has an amazing company that does amazing things for veterans with disabilities. So please welcome our guest for today, Mr. Mark McGhie. How are you, my sir?
I'm awesome.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today.
That's my pleasure.
So now, tell us about your company and what it does.
Well, we're a general contracting company. My dad started the company in 1967. He had been a home builder up in northern Utah, and he'd acquired like 49% of the company up there, and they got into racehorses, and the owners, the primary owners, spent all of their time on racehorses, forgot how they made their money. He worked for 2 years with no pay and decided, I got to do something different. So we moved out here in 1966, and him and my mom were rehabbing houses, and he got his general contracting license in February of 1967 and started Mac Builders, which was my mom's name, Cherie, with his name, Mac, and built a couple of tracts of homes and did rehab work and all kinds of stuff. And then, so many things that the company did over the years. I grew up doing insurance restoration work for him. In the early 70s, he got into fire repair and water damage and structural damage and stuff like that. So I grew up doing that with him. We did remodeling work as well, but primarily it was insurance restoration and commercial remodeling. And then it was 1985, and he walked in my office. I was 25, and he said, hey, I've got lung cancer. They're going to operate on me in the morning. Here's the keys to my safety deposit box. Here's my insurance policies. If I don't make it, call this guy, do this, do this, do this. Wow. And I was like, holy crap. I felt like my world collapsed in like a minute. And long and short was they gave him a year to live. He lived 5.5 years, and I took over the company when I was 28. I was responsible for my parents' income, my brother's income, my other brother's income, my uncle's income, as well as mine. And he died in 91. And after 91, we were still doing insurance repair work, and I just was getting fed up with insurance companies, right? Because you go out to somebody's house that's burned down, and you're representing the insurance company. But when you contract with that owner, now you take on them; they're your primary responsibility. Yeah. And I just look at every job the way my dad taught me, which is, if it was your home, how would you want it done? Right. How would you want to be treated, et cetera? Right. And I just got tweaked over it and said, I'm done. And I took an ad out in the Yellow Pages and started remodeling. Oddly, during my dad's, he went home, and when I was 28, he went home and never came back to work. And the cancer spread from his lung to his brain. He became completely disabled. We didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. We're insurance repair contractors. Right. And so if my dad wanted to go, if he needed to go to the bathroom, for example, our secretary would get on a radio, and there were 3 brothers, find out who was closest to the house. One of us would have to jam over to the house, muscle a 6'4", 230-pound guy out of bed onto a potty chair, does his business, clean him up, and get him back in bed. And a year after he died, I got contacted by a company out of Minneapolis called Accessible Space Planning. They said, we're doing a group home for head injury victims. Would you be interested in bidding it? And I was like, sure. So I bid the job. We got the job, and that was the first time we did anything for people with disabilities. And when I did the job, I just looked at it going, holy cow. Yeah. If we had known any of this, we could have adapted my parents' house and made it safe for my dad, because my dad fell with caregivers. He fell with my mom. My mom got a hernia. It was a nightmare. Right. And then a year after that, we got called by the Veterans Administration and said, we have a disabled vet. We understand that you've done this type of work. And so that was our first accessible remodel for a veteran under the Special Adaptive Housing Program. And it was just unbelievable. It was, you're giving somebody back a large amount of independence.
Right.
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 This guy was wheelchair bound, and I was just like, again, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I thought there's a gigantic need for this, because I'd been in homes in Summerlin, in Del Webb's Sun City, right? They were senior friendly, and I looked at it and I was like, not really.
Right.
All they did was put in 32-inch doors and a grab bar in the shower. That was all they did. That's not enough for somebody who really starts to have problems or start to have mobility issues. That doesn't unlock their home for them. And so it's the only thing I marketed for, really. I mean, we marketed in the Yellow Pages for a while. But it was the lead to close ratio was the best was maybe in the bathroom remodeling. So we did bathroom remodeling, kitchen remodeling, room additions, all that kind of stuff. And not that I don't do that now, but the only thing I market for is accessibility remodeling. I always tell people, I mean, last year I did a kitchen remodel that was $150,000, which is a lot of money to sink into a kitchen. And it was cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. But it's not the same as 2 years ago. I did a job for a disabled vet who hadn't had a shower, her own shower, for 14 years. 14 years she was sponge bathed.
Yeah.
Unless she was in the hospital or she was in a hotel where they had an accessible shower.
Gotcha.
And so when you do that, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, when Abby was on the show and we were talking about everything she was going through, you have so much connection to the military in your family. Your father served.
Oh, yeah.
I believe your grandfather served as well. You had uncles who served. Your son served. Your two daughters married veterans. I mean, like, you are surrounded by it as well.
For sure. Well, I mean, look, when I was growing up, my dad, I was in a house of three boys, and my dad was super clear. And it wasn't, my dad was not an authoritarian per se, but he just commanded immense amount of respect.
Yeah.
He was very disciplined, very disciplined man. A big guy, again, 6'4", 230. He was a big guy.
Right.
But we grew up being told when you graduate high school, you have three choices. You can pack up your stuff and move out and get your life going. You can join the military and they'll make a man out of you in 9 weeks. Right. Or you can go to college, your mom and I will help you. And so my oldest brother graduated in June of 68.
Okay.
August of 68, he was in San Diego.
Okay.
All right. My other brother was literally a hippie, a literal hippie. Okay. Railing against the establishment. I'll never forget my dad looking at him saying, I am the establishment, you know. And him and a foster brother that we had was, they were doing drugs and just, my brother had super bright red hair down the middle of his back. He literally wore the leather jacket with the fringe. He was barefooted. His feet were black. And they came home late one night and the door was locked. Because the rule was if you live at home, midnight. And my dad opened the door and said, get your crap and get out of my house. Wow. And don't ever come back until you're a man. So my other brother wound up in a commune in Seattle. Oh, wow. And then one Saturday morning he called my dad and said, hey, Dad, I've joined the Army. They're sending me to Vietnam. Can I come home?
What a change.
And my dad was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that brother went into the Army. Okay. My other brother was a quartermaster on a destroyer escort. They were both in Vietnam. Yeah. And so they're 9 and 10 years older than me. So I graduated in 78. Vietnam ended in 75. Yes. As I was approaching, I think it was my sophomore year, I started thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got 2 years to decide what I'm going to do. And when I graduated, I was like, there's really nothing going on. Yeah. So I'll go to college. And even then, I think I lived at home for 2 months when my dad said, be good for you to get out on your own. And he paid me enough that if I had some roommates, I could live on my own. And I moved out and was working for him. And then I reached a point in college where I was like, I just should go to work with my dad. I mean, I love what we do. And I mean, we were building people's homes, right? From a fire, which is a devastating loss. And so I wound up working with my dad and it wasn't too much longer, 4 years, 5 years, when he walked in and told me he had cancer. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to watch how, when I talk to different guests, how different things align. Yeah. So my dad, he graduated high school, I believe, in 1967.
Yeah, about my brother's age.
And he had a scholarship, gymnastics scholarship for college. And he went, and about halfway through the first semester, he told his family, no, you know what? I need to serve my country. And he walked down and he signed up with a Navy recruiter, and he did 2 tours in Vietnam. And then he ended up doing 21 years in the Navy.
What did he do in the Navy?
He was supply.
Okay.
So he was supply. So logistics warehouse, that was in his heyday in Australia. I think he had there were so many ships and a bunch of warehouses that all were underneath him of what he did. His group in Australia still holds the record for the fastest unloading of a ship of supplies.
Wild.
And that was set in 81, 80, something like that. And nobody's touched it since. So he was phenomenal. And then he got out and he would do acting and some other things, but he ended up doing construction defect because his dad had worked construction for a while. And then he ended up doing training people on, there was this program on how to do glass estimates for construction work. Mm-hmm. And he did the training. He created a training for it. That was what he did in the end.
Where did he do construction defect?
He was in Arizona, but he was doing work in California. And then he did some work here in Vegas when we had moved up here to Vegas as well.
Who did he work with here?
No idea.
Gotcha.
People. He worked with people. That's who he worked with. But it's funny to me how it aligns and it grows and it sets out, because it to have the interrelation, which the family connected so much. Yeah. You know, you and I didn't specifically serve, but we serve in our own way by what we do, you know?
Well, you know what's funny? When I think it was Simon Sinek came up with this thing, what's your why, you know? And my wife is like into motivational speakers. I tell people this all the time. So when that came out, she started saying, well, what's your why? What's your why? And I was going, I don't know. I was the son of a contractor, you know? And it kept bouncing around in my head. And then one day I thought, why do I only market for accessibility remodeling?
Right.
And then it dawned on me. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't help my dad.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to help my dad.
Yeah.
And there's a huge need for it, and that's my why. I'm able to go in and, I've had old vets at the end of the job break down crying because I gave them back. They don't have to rely on their wife to bathe them. Right. Right. They have some independence inside of their home, and they get to stay in their home, and they can go out into their backyard and they get in their front door. They don't need assistance. And it was huge. It
would be if you served your country. You were that strong. You were that mentality that you get in the service. The way you are built in the service. My dad raised my sister and I so amazing. He was such a strong, commanding guy. Yeah. But gosh, he was the best dad to 2 girls you could ever meet in your life. And he was so kind and he was so funny. He was so uninhibited in how he expressed his love openly to my mom and, physical affection. It was just this amazingly rolled up in one person kind of human being. And when he got sick, it was in the mentality wise, that was where his fight was. He focused to stay positive to do. And you just
my dad was the same way.
Don't know, and it's crazy. I love so much that your company has found an avenue to be able to kind of give some of that back to them. Yeah. And one of the reasons I really wanted you on was because I don't think a lot of companies out there who could be giving back in various ways. It's not just what you do. There's so many avenues they could go to to help support in that way. They need to know that this is an option for them. Because some of your veterans actually go to the government for assistance. They get grants or something, or how's that work?
Yeah, virtually all of them. I mean, when I'm dealing with the Veterans Administration, there's a bunch of different grants, and I mean it's a really complex system. So when I'm speaking to a vet, for example, I'm getting called from them because I'm on some list somewhere, right? And often because a lot of contractors don't like to do this work. It's there's an immense amount of paperwork that's required because you're dealing with the government. I don't actually contract with the government. I
No.
contract with the veteran because
Yeah.
he owns the home, but it's all controlled by the Veterans Administration. So you have to do an immense amount of paperwork. You get zero money down. You basically have to finance up to a certain point, and then you'll get a draw, and then you continue, and you'll get a draw. Then you have to completely finish the entire project, and you're waiting for 50% of your money. And but for example, there's the prosthetics department has two grants. One is they're both called HISA grant, HISA grant.
Okay.
If your disability is not service connected, they'll give you $2,000 to do something in your house. So a lot of guys will get grab bars, or they'll get like a ramp at their door or whatever.
Okay.
If your disability is service connected, meaning whatever happened in the service led to you having this disability, then they'll give you $6,800. Now, I've been doing it long enough. I remember when I could do a shower for $6,800.
Right. I was going to say that can go quickly then.
It goes nowhere now. I
Yeah.
mean, it literally goes nowhere now, especially after everything that happened after post-COVID with supply chains and inflation and what have you. But then you get into other portions of the Veterans Administration, special adaptive housing, which is probably the bulk of what I do. Special adaptive housing will give a vet, again, now it's got to be service connected, but then there has to be, and I don't know all the qualifications, but typically it involves loss of use. So they've lost the ability to walk, or their ability to walk, or some body part, they
Gotcha.
don't have use of that body part. They've got loss of use. So they'll give them $120,000 or thereabouts to do the modifications on their home. And then they have guidelines of what you're going to try to meet based on what that veteran's disability is. So if it's loss of use, the guy is an amputee, or he can't walk, he has his legs but he can't walk, or whatever the case may be, then they're looking to complete what are called minimum property requirements. So it involves the entrance to the house, the exit to the house. There needs to be two. Generally, they want one of those to be the primary entry exit would be the veteran's bedroom. They want him to be able to get out of the house into the front of the property in the event of an emergency, such as a fire or something like that. Then it goes into their bedroom door, mobility space. The flooring needs to be wheelchair compatible. The bathroom has to have a sufficiently sized shower for that vet. Typically, it's a 4-foot by 4-foot shower, which is really pretty big in comparison to what most people have in their homes. The bathroom needs to have a 5-foot turning diameter for wheelchair. The toilet has to have 3-foot clear on one side, or 48 clear in front for transfer, roll under sink, grab bars, on and on it goes. And then after that, they start just looking at what can be done that's related to the veteran's disability that will give them more independence, right? And so in 30 years, I've seen the program morph tremendously.
Yeah.
It was very lax when I first started doing it, and then it got super strict. And it's currently kind of, it's a little more lax insofar as if the vet doesn't need it, they will allow what's called a waiver.
Gotcha.
So that's one. Then they have an AH grant, which is less than the SAH, but it's administered by the Special Adaptive Housing, and that might be somebody who has blindness or some other disability, but they don't have loss of use, and so again they go back in and they're looking at the veteran and saying what can we do, or what maybe door openers, or it could be lighting. I've done work for veterans that have a level of blindness, and so when you're dealing with that, now you're looking at a typical light bulb when we grew up would have been a 60-watt lamp. Right. And that would have been a temperature rating or color rating of 2700 K, or 27,000 or 2700 Kelvin, which is a warm light. If a guy's got macular degeneration, you want to get up to 5,000 K, which is that bluer looking LED light, because that's closer to daylight, and that their eyes are able to read better and see better under that type of lighting. And so there's kind of a lot to know, but that's how those grants get applied. There are vocational rehabilitation grants I don't deal with Voc Rehab very much. I've dealt with them on a couple of different projects when the project exceeded that amount. I've had them step in, and portions of the work we had to do under prevailing wage. Typically, I'm not a big fan of that. A laborer's getting paid $50 an hour or something to do something that you can get done for, $16 an hour, $18 an hour.
Right.
You're kind of burning money that could really do a lot more. But I had that with a guy he played basketball for the Air Force.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In fact, he was the first black stunt man in Hollywood.
My goodness.
Yeah, well, Elliot Gould hooked him up. If you ever saw the movie Dirty Harry, in the opening scene when the bank robbers are coming out, there's a scene where Harry shoots a guy and he goes through the window, and that was Willie Harris.
There you go. Look at that. I love it. I love it.
Kind of wild. But there's just a ton of different grants and the qualifications. I don't know that most of the vets I deal with, it's a long road to find that grant. It's a long road to qualify for that grant. It's a long road to get rated 100% disabled. Yeah. Right? It's a difficult journey.
I think that the VA has gotten better over the years. It still has a long way to go.
For sure.
It's still a long battle. And I say that because my father ended up having colon cancer. And he got it from his service in the Navy when he worked with some radiation.
Right.
And there are so many individuals who have suffered as well from this that they got Congress to recognize it. And there was a separate medal that was sent to my mother. But because of that, she has gotten a VA stipend.
Right.
After he passed away. And I love that you brought up the fact that we talk about the different qualifications, because there's a lot, guys. There's so much. There's no way we could sit here in one show and go over everything or the paperwork, because it is massive. But this in-service disability, because yes, there are veterans who now are disabled due to age in life and things that happened, but that's different than those who were disabled by their service kind of thing.
No, for sure.
And I'm not trying to discredit anyone. I'm just saying that's a very different category for me,
completely.
And I was raised by a man that very rarely took discounts, veteran discount. Like military, when he served, he had no problem in a hotel when we were traveling. But after he got out, he very rarely took a military discount or a veteran discount. Sure. He would ask on some. He just didn't research it. And when we had to go to the VA when he was sick, he was like, that's for the other guys who did so many years. It's not really my thing. And so you have those different mindsets. And they're not, like, I'm never going to say somebody's a bad person for, touting their service. I'm proud of you. Thank you for what you did, kind of thing. It's just you have those different calibers of 100%. Who's willing to step and not.
It depends upon the person.
Oh, right? It does. And I'm sure you do that dance so different with each case, I
think we're the oldest. I think we're the most senior company that does this type of work, right? I mean, construction. I don't want to berate construction, but there's a lot of mentality in construction that is like, I'm a general contractor, so I can do anything. Well, can you do everything well?
Right.
do you know everything? Right. I remember my dad used to tell me there's four kinds of people. There are people that know that they know. There are people that know they don't know. There are people that don't know that they know, and there are people that don't know they don't know. And those are the most dangerous. And I've gone in and looked at work that the house I'm in right now, I had bid an accessible bathroom for a brother and sister who were taking care of their 94-year-old mother who had a stroke. And they told me their budget was $10,000, and I worked up the numbers. I came in 12, and I was like, I didn't get the job. I get it. Yeah. But I don't need practice at my age. I just don't need practice.
Right.
I know what I'm doing, and I know what my costs are. And so not much longer, and my mom's health degraded rapidly, and we needed to bring her home. She was up in southern Utah at the time. And So I'm looking for a house that has a bedroom downstairs with a bathroom that could be adapted where we could take care of my mom. So I'm shooting down everything that the real estate agent shows me. It was during the flip period, and I'm looking at these houses going, no, they covered this up, they covered that up. Everything is no. And she calls me up and says, oh, my God, I got the perfect house for you. It's got a bedroom downstairs. It already has an accessible bathroom. She gives me the address, and I'm driving around. I'm thinking, man, I know that address. I know that address. And so, sure enough, I called her back. I said, hey, is the last name this? She goes, oh, my God, do you know them? I said, no.
Oh, how funny.
I bid the job. I just didn't get it. It was kind of odd for them because they didn't hire me, and now I'm looking at their house. But, I mean, I checked my ego at the door years ago, so I don't expect to get every job I look at. And not, when I was 30, I thought I could be all things to all people. And by the time I'm in my mid-40s, I'm like, that's not the deal.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this bathroom, and I'm thinking, holy crap. The mother never made it home, the 94-year-old. She passed away. But what I'm looking at this bathroom, instead of having a barrier-free shower where the floor and the shower pan are level and the shower pan slopes lower than the floor to the drain, they built it up like you normally do, and then they put this really weird two-sided ramp to go from the floor up to it in front of a toilet, so that if you were sitting on the toilet, one foot would be inclined on a ramp and the other foot would be flat on the ground. And I'm thinking, a 94-year-old stroke victim in that position stands up off the toilet and immediately pitches to the left.
Oh, yeah.
And I just was looking at it going,
heck, I probably would.
I guess I could have done that for 10 grand.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But not what we do. And so in the construction industry, everybody thinks that they can do anything. And I've gone in and torn out stuff that people did poorly. I mean, the construction industry is the construction industry.
Oh, yeah.
I tell people, nobody comes into your house and says, "Ooh, hang on.
I know.
Sounds like you want quality."
Yeah.
We specialize in mediocre. we have horrible communication skills. Our business model is to do substandard work, and at the end of the job, we'll argue with you to try to get you to accept it.
Oh, my God, that's funny.
But because everybody says the same thing going in,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the construction industry. In the industry I'm in ranges from a guy in a pickup truck with a dog to $100 million a year window company.
Yeah.
It's a gigantic industry.
Oh, yeah.
And it just is. I've never had a veteran tell me that any other contractor asks them, what is your disability? What is your disability?
Yeah.
What is your upper body strength? How old are you?
Yeah.
How tall are you?
Yeah.
Can you transfer? Do you use a catheter? Are you able to go to the bathroom on your own?
Yeah.
Are you able to walk? How far are you able to walk? I ask this a whole bunch of very, very personal, specific questions because it gives me an idea of where they are.
Yep.
And where are they going?
Yep.
Right? And so you don't want to look at somebody and say, hey, you're 68, bad news.
Right.
Your upper body strength isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to rob them of hope, but I need to understand where they are so that whatever I design and whatever we build doesn't just work for them now, but will work for them in the future.
Yeah.
Because I tell people all the time, I've never met an elderly couple that said, Jim and I are hoping to live to be old enough to go to assisted care living and give them everything we were hoping to leave our children.
Yeah.
Nobody says that.
No, it's very, very true. And it is uncomfortable conversations have to be had. We talk about this all the time, guys. Sometimes you have to have conversations that may seem uncomfortable, but the facts you get out of it help you to remedy the situation. I used to feel bad. My parents, when they bought their house, they decided they were going to expand the shower because it was too small, and they were going to redo the counters in the kitchen. And every time someone would come in to bid, my dad was very kind, and he was very upfront about the fact that he knew construction well. His father owned a construction company in Texas. I mean, most of the skyline out of the Fort Worth area that was my papa.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see, how his mind would work with it in that way. But I think that sometimes we don't know the questions to ask.
Most people
when someone comes in with that outside perspective, be able to put it into the point of view. Yeah, it's not always going to be a fun question, but to know it's better. My father-in-law fell a few years ago and they did surgery on his knee and then they wanted to do surgery on his shoulder. And he was so just done with the rehab and the whole thing and everything. And he said, look, I have another arm. It reaches perfectly fine. I am just fine. Yeah. Because you just get done with it. But to find that if you can get through these questions and get what you need to have the freedom back that you kind of lost.
Well, you know what?
Whole different world.
I think because I'm upfront and I explain to people, whether it's a disabled vet or it's an elderly person.
Yeah.
I think of it this way. When I was young, we valued my grandparents. Because of their life experience, okay? And I tell people, America's kind of become a place where it's not cool to get old anymore.
Yeah.
And very few people take care of their elderly parents.
Yeah.
Most of them push them into some type of a home of some sort. But if I explain to them, I'm going to ask you some personal questions because I just want to have a solid picture of where you are. And that way, whatever we're looking at is not going to just work for you now, but it's going to work for you in the future. I don't look at them and tell them, "Hey, you're gonna be losing upper body strength.
Right.
You're going to be losing your ability to transfer." I just know it.
Right.
And in knowing it, I can design accordingly. There's only so much that you can do, right?
Oh yeah.
But I think when I ask them that, the most common response I get is, "Wow. You're the only person that's asked me anything."
Yeah.
Because I think the tendency is, if you're in construction, jobs just have the tendency to become another this, another that. It's another shower. It's another bathroom. It's another, whatever. Where even when I was in insurance repair, when I walked to somebody's house, I always thought to myself, wow, they just lost everything. They just lost the pictures of their kids when they were babies.
Yeah.
They just lost all their memories. And my house is my house.
Yep.
I'm going home to my house tonight.
Yep.
I'm getting in my bed tonight. They're going to a motel. I always kept that sensitivity to the situation. And it's the same for me when I'm dealing with somebody who has some kind of physical limitation. If they're a disabled vet, I'm looking at them and I'm going, okay, I'm here to try to do the best I can for you. I never use the cheapest materials. I never use the cheapest construction methods because, again, I'm looking at it saying, if this were my house, if I were doing this for my dad, if I were doing this for my mom, how do I want it done? And that's how I do it. I'm never the lowest bid, ever.
Right.
But I tell people all the time, because they don't know. Most people don't know construction. So what I do is I just tell people, look, interview a ton of contractors.
Yeah.
Right? And then the one that you just feel like, I think I can work with this guy, right? Because it's going to be disruptive. It's exciting the first week, but it gets old super fast. Right?
That is so true.
That is totally true.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's totally true. And so, because I'm in somebody's house a month, 2 months, and you got people at your house at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you got noise, and right? And so I tell them, interview a bunch of contractors, and then look at the one that you just get that feeling, I like this guy, I think I can work with this guy, then vet him. Then vet him, make sure you vet him, right? And then choose that guy, right? I mean, years ago, I was on a program, there was the Home Improvement Professionals, it was a radio program, and the marketing people in the booth were tripping because this lady calls in, she says, do you offer a senior citizens discount? I said, well, it's really kind of a sham. And the marketing people were like pounding on the window, and I said, listen, in my industry, in my business, it's high volume, low margin. If I'm looking to make a 10% net profit, if I offer a senior citizen discount, then I have to build that 10% into the project and dupe you into thinking I'm giving you a discount. Now, Abby is a marketer.
Yes.
And Abby says to me, Dad, some people just want to feel like they're getting a discount. Build it in. And I'm like, I can't. I can't do that. It feels deceptive to me. I'm leading them to believe that I'm giving them a discount when in fact I'm not. I've built that number in to knock it off. When I watch Renewal by Andersen commercials, 400 off each window, this, that, the other, I'm like, that's all built in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm selling jeans. I wear 501s.
Right.
Kohl's buys them for maybe $10 a pair.
Yeah.
They got them for $60 or whatever it is. If they do 10% off, they're still making money. But if I'm looking for a 10% net, how can I knock off 10% if I don't build it in?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's how you... I just look at it and say, everybody gets to pick their lane. You get to pick your lane on how you want to do business.
Oh, yeah. So I work in the staffing industry is my regular job. And one of the things my boss used to always say to people who'd be upset about giving a discount on a placement was, well, you can write an invoice with a discount on something, or you can write it on nothing. So what do you want? Do you want nothing?
Right.
Or do you want to make this happen? And because his goal was, and the company, his son and his wife, it's a family-run company, and they've kept it going, was always about it's the right fit for both parties, the client and the candidate. And I think that sometimes we don't always put the puzzle pieces together like that. Yeah. In the way it lays out, and it goes, and you have to take that time to ask those questions, to find those answers, to go the area. There's going to be parts where I didn't understand a lot about real estate and home and all. I mean, I bought my first home at 40. It's half of the reason my husband and I ended up getting together was because he's been in real estate he's over 22 years in real estate. He's a real estate broker. And I had questions and he gave me answers. And now, like when we moved into our house, I said, it'd be great. Let's redo all the screens on all the windows. And he's like, okay, well, let's go down and go through how much that's going to cost and do the thing. Or we could just replace the two that are busted. Right. I was like, I didn't think about it in that way. It's the way his mind works because of the field he's in, so, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure you look at things and it calculates different for you.
I think I drive my wife nuts sometimes.
Do you?
Because I mean, I look at, I'm looking at people's houses all the time, and I look at problems, and I look at whatever. And so I'll be like, yeah, we could do that, but who's going to clean up there? Is anybody going to clean up there? Nobody's going to clean up there. And that's just going to become a dust collector or, whatever it might be. I'm looking at what is it going to be like long term and what are the implications of that. I'm
a little OCD.
Most of the time I give in to her.
He's had to get used to a little bit OCD, but I've had to adjust to something. So being the daughter of a Navy man, we moved every 2 years.
Yeah. Wow.
There were not boxes in our houses. We did. I mean, there'd probably be a couple in some place, but you couldn't in the Navy. I mean, this is the size of the pod you got. You fill it up. Once it's full, you're done. Right. And so I got used to that. And now my husband, because he always has, he's like in living color. He got 99 job men. So he does real estate broker. He also sells collectibles on eBay. And he has casino collectibles, he has sporting collectibles, he has MTV collectibles, he has Hollywood collectibles, he has all kinds of collectibles. Wow. And he has 2 storage units full of them in addition to what's at our house. Right. And there's just so much stuff, we have boxes at my house. Right. A little twing goes in my eye. And so I make the bed every morning. It's something that makes me feel like I have a little control in my chaotic world, and he didn't get it. And so when we were first together, he was finally like, what is the deal with the making of the bed? And I said, it's just this area is together and it makes me happy. And so he's like, okay, so when I travel, when I come home, that bed is made. I know it wasn't made the entire time I was gone, but when I get home, that bed is made. So I come home to my comfort because he knows that makes me feel good, It's the little things like that I find are the ebb and flow and the balance in them.
No, for sure.
And I think that especially being in the field you're in and working with the people and being able to give them something like that is awesome. You have such a great personality to do that. You're just you're like my dad. You're strong, but you're kind.
I mean, my dad was way more mellow than I am. I mean, I'm married to a Japanese girl, and I describe her as like a lake right before dawn. It's just glass, and I'm more like a tempest that blows across the lake. You know?
And he's a poet too.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you, anytime I have guys out to do work at the house, the first thing my wife says is, please don't make them redo it. Please don't make them, because I'm anal about stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I just like it the way I like it.
But I grew up with my dad saying, in the business, why is there never enough time to do it right the first time? Mm-hmm. But there's always enough time to go back and fix it. Mm-hmm. And so I've got two really, really sharp young men. They totally understand our culture. They totally understand what we do. They totally understand how to deal with our clients. And we don't have to go back and redo things.
That's awesome. In my world, sometimes we're under deadlines and pressures. I deal in a lot of federal contracts and such. And I will get asked sometimes and they will say, okay, we need this by this. Okay, I can do it fast,
right,
or I can do it accurate.
Right.
What would you like?
Right.
Because I'll compensate whichever way you want it to be. I can get it done fast. Now, once I understand the rhythm, how it goes, it's going to go faster than you realize. But if you let me just get a holding on it, and when it's a government contract, Jesus, people.
Oh, yeah. For
stuff
sure.
You got to you read it and then you reread it and then you reread it and then you go back and you spot check it. And it's like, and you keep finding new stuff you didn't see the first time, you know?
That's the thing. That's the thing for me because there's an agent that the vet deals with, say on a special adaptive housing. There's an agent, and his job is to get the package ready to go to regional for review. Regional used to be in Phoenix. It got moved up to Minneapolis. So he gets his eyes on it and says, okay, I believe we've got all the I's dotted, T's crossed. Then it leaves him and it goes up and it goes through a whole bunch of other set of eyes. It could go back to Washington, D.C. to the home office and be reviewed. And so exactly what you say is what I do. I have these checklists that I look at, and they're not just they're looking for what is said in the verbiage has to be on the plans, and they're looking for certain nomenclature, certain descriptors, certain numbers. There are magic numbers, magic words that I need to make sure they appear everywhere. And so I do it, and then I go back over it, and I look at everything, and I make sure that everything I know they're looking for when they're reading this is there. Because the more accurate I am, what happens is it just greases the whole project, and you get a faster approval. Oh,
absolutely.
Because if it gets kicked back, it's a nightmare.
It very much is. When I deal with, one of the things that is a pain is because I deal a lot with some stuff involving clearances, and I get salespeople who know just enough, and they figure they know it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. You cannot think outside the box. The government does not like you going outside their box. You get back in the box and you hush up and you do what they say. Because that's how that lays out. I mean, when we were working with the VA for my mom we even had a rep here in the state helping us. And then we even had Mastos step in.
Right.
And it still took like a year.
Yeah.
To get it with all that support and people who knew to talk the talk and walk the walk. Yeah. It still took that timeline for it because that's how the process lays out.
It's insane. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, truthfully, for me. But you know, the more seasoned, when I'm dealing with right now, there's not a special adaptive housing agent in Nevada. Okay. Las Vegas is where they're always based, but and in all fairness to them, they're overworked. I mean, they're literally overworked. I'm dealing with a guy who's an agent in California. He was a Navy SEAL, which was kind of mind blowing. When I was like, dude, what did you do in the what'd you do in the Navy? He's like, oh, I was a SEAL, and I was just like, wow, you say that.
I know, and they're so like,
you say that nonchalantly, right? I'm like, dude, that's impressive, right? But anyway, the guy's got like 46 open cases, and he's being assigned cases in Las Vegas. And so you're like, I mean, I don't know how you manage that, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you've got guys that are seasoned like him, he's very, very, very good, and he's pretty dang quick considering what his caseload is. I've had people that were located here that took forever.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Forever to process to process a grant.
Yeah.
But if they're not good, if they don't know the system well. I mean, I dealt with an agent. He had a project that we were doing here. It was a subsequent use for a vet. Mm-hmm. So the guy didn't. Every year that grant increases by whatever the inflation rate is. Mm-hmm. So it might be 3% or whatever it is, but it'll build up money, and they get to go back and tap that grant a subsequent time. If they don't use all the grant in the beginning, it just sits there and it grows. And then if they need something down the road, they can go tap that. So I'm dealing with probably not a kid, but a guy out of.
I know. I started calling people kids too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 65, But the guy was out of New Mexico and he had no formal training. Mm-hmm. And the VA was like, well, call other agents. Call other agents, ask them what they should do. Now, the guy that was here previously had been in the program for years. That guy was. There were two agents over the course of 30 years that were absolutely the most efficient guys I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And they were just like bing, bang, boom, and it was done. One of them closed more cases in Nevada than any other agent in the entire United States.
Wow.
0 accolades.
Wow.
He gets nothing. He gets no nothing. But he was an amazing guy.
What kills me is we got away from the attaboys.
Oh, for sure.
This sounds so silly for me to have this, but I'm going to have this conversation with you because I am someone who I strive for people to think I did good at something.
For sure.
And we've gotten away from it. And they went into this one extreme where they did when I was a kid, there was no participation award. Nope. There was first, second, and third. And if you didn't get that, you didn't get anything. Okay.
That's it.
And then we went into the participation awards, which I think the thought process on it wasn't bad. It's just the way it ended up playing out maybe didn't do what they wanted it to do. And now we've gotten back to a point kind of now where we don't celebrate people's victories and encourage each other the way we should.
Well, it can hurt the feelings of other people.
I hurt feelings all the time. I'm good at it. Had this conversation with your daughter. She and I are not the kind ones in our marriages. We are the ones that we should let the husband have the conversation. The patience level in our husbands exceeds ours just a wee little bit. You mess with somebody we love, we're going to kill you. Yeah. There's no conversation. And I'm a Scorpio. It's going to be slow and painful. So, but I think that we need to celebrate when people do good. Give out those attaboys. The gratitude.
Oh, for sure.
Is missing a lot in life where we are. Sure. And you want to be able to do that, encourage. That's how we get to do better and do more. You coming on here and talking about this and letting other businesses that maybe have avenues where they could support veterans just never kind of figured out how to get their footing in it or a way to approach it is very helpful, you know?
I think a lot of veterans, going back to what you had said earlier, are reticent to ask for help.
Really? Mm-hmm.
For sure. I mean, that's that.
It's common.
It's that military ethos.
Yeah.
Right. Very independent. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people like to ask for help anyway. Right. There's a sense of vulnerability with that. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly not good at asking for help at all. Mm-hmm. Right. Typical. There's still that part of my male ego intact. Right. If I go to the grocery store at my age and the kid says, "Would you like some help out with that, sir?" I'm like, bro, if I had to drag this out on my hands and knees, I ain't asking for you to take a bag of groceries out to my damn car. Sorry. Not happening.
Okay, so
happening.
Shocker for everyone. So I'm going to be 50 in October. And I joke, my husband and I talk about all the time, like what our parents looked at 50 was better than what their parents looked at 50. And you can see it grow and as it goes along. But there are certain things that I will every grocery bag. I live in a house. Every grocery, I'm not doing 8 trips in and out of the house. I'm getting in one trip. I'm done. It's good. My husband will, he's 6'2", broad-shouldered guy. He will carry 2 cases of water at a time. And I'm like, how are you doing that? That's so cool. I want to do that too. But I'm finding that it irritates me. Sometimes I'll do my bags and I'll get in and be like, dang it.
Yeah, right.
Okay. That's not supposed to happen yet.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
ready for it. But it's a maintaining thing. Like we talk about, I was telling Abby a lot, I do treadmill for 30 minutes and then I do just like some resistance band stuff for my
Sure.
arms, just to try to keep.
Sure.
I mean, I was a tomboy.
Yeah,
I was rough and tumble.
She was too.
Yeah. I was playing football with the boys. I was just, tomboy chick. But my mother had been a tomboy too. It didn't faze her,
Right.
And then as I got older and got more into my sister teaching
sure.
me to take care of my parents and stuff like that, the tomboy's still in there.
Well, sure.
It's just a lot harder to do stuff with these pretty babies.
Yeah.
And, in a skirt, you can't quite. Every time there's something that breaks at work and I have to crawl around, I'm in a skirt and high heels. I'm like, why can it never be a day when I'm wearing pants? It's always when I'm in a skirt.
Right.
So it's funny how the mindset messes with
I
us.
just think when you get to people who are in the military,
it's a whole different ballpark.
yeah, I mean it's
a whole different ballpark.
there's a macho-ness there, and there needs to be. I mean there needs to be, in my opinion, right? I mean I look at the young kids now, and especially the young men. We've been now quite a few years where young men are being demeaned. You're toxic, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, yeah, well, if there's a big bang in the middle of the night downstairs, I'm sure as hell not looking at my wife and saying, hey, you want to go check that out?
Oh, my God, that's so
Okay,
funny.
that ain't happening, right?
Oh, my
The
God.
first time in my life I've ever actually drawn a weapon and went downstairs was recently.
Oh, okay.
And it was 2:00 in the morning, and there was a crash, enough that I was like immediately awake, and my first thought was, my dog did something. I got out of bed, I walked to the end of my bed, I put my hand on the couch where my dog sleeps, and I felt her body, and I was like, ooh.
Not good.
This is not good.
Yeah.
So I immediately grabbed my pistol, and first time I've ever racked my pistol in the middle of the night. And as I was going downstairs, I thought, should I say hello? And I thought, no, that's probably not a good idea. And it was a plant that I had over my coffee machine.
Oh.
That had just, the foliage, it was the perfect moment. There was enough foliage that enough evaporation occurred that it pulled it off the shelf at 2:00 in the morning. Now, I would never in my life look at my wife and say, hey, go check that out.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Right? If something bad is really happening, most people want the most toxic male possible to be addressing that, right? If you want to call it toxic, but I don't think it's toxic, man. I mean, if you've got to lay your life on the line, that's what these guys are looking at. Omar was in fueling. Mm-hmm. And I don't recall, I watched the episode, I don't think you told the story, but a mortar went off, and he had been playing his guitar and set it down and went somewhere else, and when he came back after the mortar went off, there was a hole that went through the guitar from a piece of shrapnel. Mm-hmm. Had he been sitting there
It would have
in
gone
that
through him.
moment, he would have had a piece of shrapnel in his chest, right? You have to have a kind of a warrior mentality
Yep.
to serve like that. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And whatever, you don't know when you join, you don't know whether you're going to be working a desk job or
No
you're going to
idea.
be on the front line.
Yep.
You have no idea per se. It's going to be based on what your aptitude is or what they're testing you to see where you'll best fit into the organization. But the fact that you're willing to put yourself up there is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I had a guy work for me for 28 years. He was in the Navy. He was a CB. So they're trained in combat because they're going into a space in wartime and building fire bases, building whatever. He was in during Vietnam, but never was in Vietnam. And this was the other thing that I thought was really, really crazy. And not to get into a political rant, but unlike Tim Walz, who said he did all these things, but really didn't do those things, right? When anybody would say, oh, wow, you're a Vietnam vet, the guy working for me would be like, oh no, I'm Vietnam era. He never, he was always like so crazy about saying, hey,
Yeah.
I was not in,
Yeah.
I was in during that era, but I was stationed in Japan. I was stationed in Spain. I was stationed in Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He was super, super, super crazy about saying, I did not serve in any kind of a forward position. And so there's just there's that extreme honor thing that goes on there.
Oh,
with
absolutely.
A lot of vets, right?
Absolutely.
So-
absolutely. Well, we are running out of time,
Surprise.
but going to have you come back because I think that this is a great discussion, a great topic to talk about. I think there's so many businesses out there that could provide more value to veterans,
For sure.
and understand where to go. And I think that the more we talk about it, the better it goes. So welcome to the Homefront Harmony family. And thank you so much for being on with us today, Mark. I appreciate it so much. All right, guys. All right, I love you guys. Don't forget, like, follow, share, Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on the Apple Podcast. Our website is coming. I can't wait to launch it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for all you do. We'll see you next time.
Faded photographs, covered now with lines and creases, tickets torn in half.